I want to tell you about the Cameno de Santiago that I walked in May of 2025. I did the Portuguese Camino, which starts in Porto, Portugal, along the coast. And I took the littoral route, which goes along the coast. There is another route, the red line there, that goes inland a little bit. I took the one along the coast. It's 175 miles from Porto to Santiago de Compostela in the northern part of Spain. So I'm going to go along all the details of this Camino for you to understand what it was like. Mostly I walked along the coast there. About midway, I crossed into Spain and then went up. And this is how many miles I walked per day. You see down at the bottom, 18 miles, and then 13, and then 16, and then 20 miles. We crossed over into the Spanish border, and then another 15, 15, 15. We had a day of rest in Vigo, and then we split, and I went on the spiritual variant that went along the river where St. James' body came up this river to a small town called Padrón, and then was carried by ox cart from there up to Santiago de Compostela, which means St. James under the stars. That brings up the story of St. James and how he became the hero. So you know James, he is the brother of Andrew, and Jesus met them fishing in their boats and called them to follow him. Well, after the resurrection, when the apostles all went out into various countries, he went to Spain. His brother Andrew went to India, and he preached up in Spain. Well, in 44 AD, he came back to Jerusalem, and Herod grabbed him and executed him, beheaded him. You see the story where that we all remember in the Bible, where Peter escaped from prison and was released by an angel. Well, poor James was not so lucky. The day before he got beheaded, and his disciples took him by boat and left from Joppa and came up here by boat to this little river, went upstream into that river. They wanted to bring his body back to the place where he was ministering before. And so they put his body in a little tomb there with marble and with all kinds of decorations around it. But then it was lost for 800 years. And then a farmer, by inspiration of the Holy Spirit, found this tomb, and with its signs that showed that it was, in fact, the tomb of James. And then they built this cathedral over that, St. James under the stars. We walked these beautiful beaches of Portugal, mostly in Portugal, but also in Spain. Mile after mile after endless mile, we walked these beautiful beaches, spotless white sands, then rocky shores. It was just amazing. Day after day, probably 9 out of the 16 days on our walk were along these shores. And probably 123 miles out of the 175 total miles, I figured, we're walking along the beach. Occasional forts that were indicators of the ancient past that Portugal and Spain had in their maritime dominance in the world. Then there were these amazing boardwalks and walkways and paths and pathways through cities. They invested a lot into this Cameno de Santiago. How did we find our way? Well, we had apps and we had maps, but mostly we followed arrows all along the way. Sometimes we'd think we were lost, and then there's an arrow. Here is a picture of basic albergue that we stayed. Here's the bathroom, and it has men's and women's in the same room. You just have a different stall, a men's stall for showering, a women's stall for showering. Here's the laundry room. And here is the dining room. Everybody takes off their shoes, walks barefoot. And here's the dining room and the computers and the kitchen, very basic, just a very basic kitchenette. This one didn't even have a cook stove, it just had a little hot plate. And then it goes into the bedrooms, which obviously you don't want to take too much of because this is, you know, kind of private area. So, but I just took a real quick survey of how many beds in a room, and so that's it. And here is another albergue, a little bit nicer, well, way nicer. Oh, and then my friends. What a wonderful treat that was, an unexpected treat. I fell in love with these guys. The very first night in the albergue, I met these 6 people, and we all met each other, and we just started talking and laughing and eating together and sharing food, and pretty soon we decided, let's do it again tomorrow night, and we all booked together the next place, and then again and again and again. And we just had so much fun together, and so much life. I mean, it was just so encouraging coming to the albergue at the end of the day and finding these friends. Dear friends, Sophie from UK, Julia from Holland, Maggie from Scotland, Ardell from Minnesota, Ellie and Matt from Manchester, and Hartmut, my dear friend Hartmut from Germany. And we just had so much fun. And we drank and we laughed and we even cried and we walked together. And so here's my favorite memory of the whole trip is walking one day. It was cold, it was rainy, I was wet, I was miserable, and I saw this little restaurant. I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm gonna go in there and get dry. I go in there and start taking my backpack off, and then I hear behind me, hey, there's Dan. Hey, Dan, come on over here. And it was all my friends, and we just had such a good time, and I just thank God for these guys.
Through the highs and through the lows, friendship here always grows. Let's have fun till the night is done, counting stars one by one, all together, never alone. Come on, friends, let's make it.
Besides the coasts, there were also just a lot of beautiful scenery that we walked through. Mountains and little tiny paths like this where we went over mountains. There was a few days of rain, cool bridges and things on the road, old stuff, old cities walking through. Beautiful countryside. Here's a little monument left on the side for the pilgrims to pick up a little trinket if they wanted. Some pretty cool footbridges. Oh, and then there was food. Yes, we had such good, cheap foods. Here's a classic one, the bread and the cheese. I carried that with me every day. And here's another classic, the breakfast, orange juice and a roll. Oh, and it was always a time to have friends, and we made the most of it. We did a lot of eating together and just laughed and had fun. Yeah, and then there's also drink. Beer. I couldn't believe how much beer I drank. I am not a beer drinker, but I loved it. And we all did. Finally, we'll talk about the pilgrimage. This is a religious trek, and so we saw many cathedrals along the way. We started at a cathedral, and we ended at the major cathedral in this one in Compostela. So it ended. There is the vault that goes to the tomb of St. James. And here is the final swinging of the incense, which is an amazing treat that pilgrims are allowed to see. So there is my journey on the Cameno de Santiago 2025.